Hey friend, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome back to Living in His Purpose podcast. I'm Eve King, and today we're going to shift gears just a little bit. We're not going to ignore the hard things going on around us because there are a lot. I'm just saying. But we're going to do something that we don't do too often. We're going to go inward a little bit, and we're going to ask something that we don't ask ourselves enough. What am I choosing to do with my mind, my time, my body in the middle of all of this noise? Because even when the world feels like it's spinning fast, and let's be honest, it does. I'm pretty sure it is. It's spinning faster. You still have a choice. And that's where your power is. So we live in this time where it feels like everything is coming at us nonstop. Breaking news, heartbreaking stories, online debates, tragedy, conspiracy theories, and endless commentary. And it's not just exhausting, it's tempting. It's tempting to scroll for hours. It's tempting to argue. It's tempting to tune into all of it or to numb out. But here's what I want to offer you today. You don't have to live that way. You were created to choose. And those small, quiet, faithful choices that you make every day, they are going to shape things like your nervous system, your emotions, even your witness, and most of all, your peace. Now, why am I talking about this today? Well, I got to be honest. This episode is totally just for me. And if it blesses you, I'm so glad. But this is what I've needed to hear. Last weekend, I watched the memorial service for Charlie Kirk for hours. And then I stayed on social media for even more hours, just absorbing all this information and emotion and opinion that truthfully wasn't even mine. And y'all, I think it made me sick. I think it physically made me sick. I left that emotional spiral feeling completely out of whack, exhausted, nauseous, achy, and just off. Like every part of me was in overdrive, and it didn't stop there. It's continued all week. My thoughts and emotions have been scattered, and I've needed a nap every single day. And it's not like me to actually take the naps. I tend to think I need them, but I don't usually take them, but I've had to take them. Now, I can't tell you for sure it was social media that caused all of this. Maybe it's a cold, maybe it's menopause, or maybe I've just had a rough week. But I do believe that immersing myself in that online arena for hours compromised me. It compromised my immune system, my nervous system, and it layered stress on top of stress, and that impacts the body. That kind of emotional overload can take a toll on your immunity, your mood, and your mind. And honestly, that realization kind of shook me a little bit because if it can happen to me, it can happen to any of us. And that's why I wanted to bring this to you today. I want to unpack some of what I've learned through this. So if you've been feeling off, scattered, anxious, or just downright tired from being in the swirl too long, you'll know you are absolutely not alone. So let's talk about this. So let's start with a simple truth. Your thoughts don't just happen to you. Dr. Caroline Leaf says we build our thoughts. We sculpt them daily through what we consume, what we dwell on, and what we repeat. And that building process affects more than just your mindset. It reaches into our bodies and our souls too. I honestly, after that evening of too much, I felt sick in my soul. I feel like I've had to detox from that this week. Research shows that when you engage with overwhelming content, especially if you already struggle with anxiety or depression, your body is going to react as if it's under threat. What does that mean? That means that your cortisol rises, your sleep starts to suffer, your heart rate variability drops, and we'll talk about that next episode, I think. And one study even showed that people using Facebook after a stressful event had elevated cortisol levels during recovery compared to those who did not get on Facebook. Another study found that those who habitually use social media compulsively often have lower vagal tone. We'll talk about that in another episode too, because it's super fascinating. This is a sign that the body is stuck in stress. But here's the good news. The brain is always changing, and God designed it that way. And you get to influence that change by what you focus on. Romans 12:2 tells us, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That word renewing is ongoing. It's not a one-time event. You are either renewing or reinforcing the wrong thing. One of the greatest gifts that God has given us is the power to choose. From Genesis onward, we see God allowing humans to make decisions. And in the New Testament, Paul reminds us, don't you know that when you offer yourselves to someone as obedient slaves, you are slaves to the one you obey? That's in Romans 6:16. In other words, what is he talking about? What you obey, what you give your attention to, forms your internal world. So let's make it practical. When you choose silence over scrolling, when you choose worship over worry, when you choose to go for a walk instead of read one more comment thread, you are shaping your mind, protecting your body, and aligning your spirit. Your nervous system is going to respond to these choices. Your vagus nerve is going to calm down. Your breathing is going to slow. Your digestion is going to improve, and you start to feel safe again. Not because the world is any safer, but because you're no longer feeding that fear as your primary diet. You know, I just want to say this too. It is okay to have strong opinions. It is okay to care deeply about what is right and wrong. I have always had this really high sense of justice, and there are days, more than I would like to say, where I want to shout from the rooftops and call out everything that's broken or dishonest or harmful in this world. But I've also learned that if I try to live in that space 24/7, trying to fix it all, explain it all, correct it all, I end up completely overwhelmed, exhausted, and honestly ineffective. We are not called to carry the burden of making the world perfect. That is God's. Our role is to walk in truth, speak where He leads us, and stay grounded in peace. Okay, so another part of taking your power back or choosing. What do you choose? And what you need to realize is you're not called to do everything. Remember, I'm talking to myself. And I am so grateful for that. It's such relief to know that I am not called to fix or do everything. Romans 12:6-8, and Ephesians 4:11-12 remind us that God gave us each different spiritual gifts. Some of us are teachers, some are encouragers, some are leaders, some are wired to give generously or to show deep mercy. And you know what? That means not everyone is supposed to be debating on social media or tackling every hard conversation head on. And that is okay. Here's what that could look like in real life, okay? If you're a teacher, maybe your best work is done through thoughtful study or one-on-one discipleship, not duking it out in the comment section. If you're wired with mercy, it's probably more life-giving to pray and sit with hurting people than to consume a steady diet of bad news. And if you're an encourager, then your gift shines when you build people up, not when you're weighed down by every headline. And here's the really cool part. When you stay in your lane, when you honor the way that God made you, your body actually responds. Your stress lowers. Your nervous system gets to rest. You feel more peaceful, more clear-minded, and that's not just emotional, it's physical too. Your brain and your body know when you are aligned. So yes, this is about obedience to God's design, but it's also about stewardship of your time, your thoughts, your energy, and the specific calling that He has placed in your life. So here are 3 coaching questions to help you recenter. What thought is dominating my mind today? Is it a truth from God's word, or is this something reactive to what I've seen or been exposed to? Number 2, what small choice could bring my nervous system peace? Could it be a walk, a nap, putting the phone down, turning the worship music on? It doesn't have to be big. Just little things, just making that choice for a little thing will give you big benefits. Here's another one for you. Am I operating in my gifting, or am I operating in someone else's pressure? When we start here, honestly, prayerfully, we will take back power in a world that wants us to be powerless. So this is where the DAISY method comes into. This is how this works. You define that stressful thought, and you ask God for the truth. Then you get in the Word and you find the truth so that you have it at your fingertips, in your mind, in your heart. And then you speak aloud to your soul and your spirit, and you say, Spirit, rise up and comfort my soul. Show the truth to my soul so that I can be more at peace. And then yield that lie. Let go of that thought that is dragging you down. You don't need to keep it. You were never meant to live reactive. You were designed to live renewed. So, as you go into your day, here's your gentle but powerful reminder. You have a choice. You can choose peace. You can choose focus. You can choose what you let shape you. Now, in a world that demands your attention, your outrage, your performance, you can live differently. And this is one way to take back the power that God has given us. Now, if this episode has encouraged you, please share it with a friend or screenshot your favorite moment and tag me. Let me know you're listening. And if you're ready to go deeper into thought work, into mind renewal, check out my coaching page at lhplifecoach.com or reach out for a discovery session. The links are down below. Now, until next time, keep renewing your mind, stay rooted in truth, and remember, you were created to choose well.